The silence before the arrival. The Galactic Union had existed for over 12,000 years. It had seen countless new species rise, join, and fade into history. The Council of High Races, made up of the oldest civilizations, thought they had seen it all. That changed when the unknown transmission arrived. The message was short. Only 7 words: humanity requests formal first contact. Prepare now. There was no name, no details, no origin code. Just those words. At first, the Council thought it was a joke, perhaps a prank broadcast by a rogue AI, but then the sensors lit up. A massive object had entered the edge of neutral space, outside the Council's border. It moved without using any known warp signature. It didn't slow down. It didn't stop. It simply passed through asteroid belts and gravity wells as if they weren't there. By the time the Union confirmed it was real, the object had already reached the edge of diplomatic space. It was the size of a small moon, easily 20 times larger than the largest Council warship. And its shape was unlike anything they had seen before. They called it a Titan. The Union scrambled to respond. Fleets were summoned. Ambassadors were warned. The emergency summit hall on the planet Navarra lit up with every known race's leaders in attendance. General Var, a cold and sharp voice of the Yari species, stared at the display. "It's not responding to hails," he said. "It doesn't even care we're watching." Ambassador Lyra, a calm voice of the Dory, leaned forward. "Or maybe it's watching us." That sentence made the room go quiet. Across the galaxy, ships turned to face the oncoming object. Civilizations sent scout drones. Each drone sent back the same image: an enormous warship, plated in a black alloy that absorbed light. Along its hull were no markings, no windows, no energy signatures that made sense. But the most chilling part wasn't its weapons. It was the silence. Not once did it transmit. Not once did it scan. Not once did it change course. It was heading directly toward the Council's capital world. Sereth, Council Leader Dawn, old and tired, finally spoke. "Who are they? Why haven't we heard of them before?" A junior aide, pale and nervous, whispered, "We have. There are myths from the Edge colonies. Stories of a planet called Earth. Of creatures who walk through storms. Of a world too dangerous to colonize. We thought they were legends. Then why now?" General Var demanded. As if to answer him, the object stopped. It came to a complete halt outside Sereth's outer orbit. The system's defense grid came online. Thousands of satellites locked on target. Fleets moved into position, then a single pod launched from the massive ship, just one. It was small, no larger than a fighter. The Council watched it glide through their defenses like a ghost, untouched, unchallenged. It landed smoothly on the open platform of the diplomatic tower. Waiting there were the chosen leaders. No one spoke as the pod hissed open. From the dark interior, a figure stepped out. A single human, tall, armored, calm. He did not wear a weapon. He did not raise his hands. He simply looked around, nodded once, and said, "We come in peace. But we are not weak." The silence that followed was even deeper than before. It wasn't a warning. It was a reminder. The reaction across the stars. The human's words echoed through the chamber, "We come in peace. But we are not weak." The leaders of the Galactic Council stood frozen. No one knew how to respond. The silence was not just out of fear, it was out of shock. This was first contact. And yet the galaxy felt like they were the ones being visited by gods. The human stepped forward calmly. His armor shimmered faintly, not with power, but with purpose. It was unlike anything the Council had seen: smooth, dark, lined with glowing threads that shifted gently like living veins. He looked around the room, his eyes steady and focused. "I am Markle," he said. "Designated emissary of the Terran Union. I come with a message from Earth." Ambassador Lyra was the first to gather herself. Where is your delegation? Where are the others?" Markle tilted his head. "We only need one." The Council exchanged uneasy glances. Even the most peaceful species usually sent large groups for first contact. To come alone on a ship that size was more than bold. It was a statement. General Var stepped forward, his arms crossed. "And what exactly is your message?" Markle looked at him without emotion. The Terran Union has watched the galaxy. We've listened from the shadows. We've learned your languages, your politics, your wars, your fears. Now, we reveal ourselves, not to ask for a place, but to declare our presence. That sounds like a threat, Va growled. Markle smiled faintly. Only if you fear what you cannot control. The room tensed. Several security guards moved. Their hands toward their weapons, but the council leader raised his hand. No, Leader Dawn said. Let him speak. Markle nodded with respect. We are not here to conquer. We are not here to bow. We are here to join, or stand apart. But we will never kneel. Earth is a death world. Our kind was shaped by fire, war, hunger, and pain. We do not break easily. A large screen behind him flickered on. It showed images, glimpses of Earth's history. Wars. Disasters. Progress. Space travel. Unity forged through hardship. Soldiers lifting civilians. Scientists building cities among ice. Children playing under stormy skies. This is humanity. Markle said softly. We have survived everything nature threw at us. Now, we cross the stars. The council members couldn't look away. On a distant mining world, a worker saw the transmission and dropped his tools in. On a trader ship in deep space, a pilot replayed the message 5 times in silence. Across the galaxy, one thought spread. Like fire, humanity is real. And they have come. Back in the chamber, Council Leader Dawn leaned forward. And what do you want from us? Markle answered calmly, nothing, except recognition. The Terran Union will not interfere unless threatened. But know this, if one of ours is harmed, if Earth is attacked, we will not send a fleet. He paused. We will send that. He pointed upward, toward the sky, toward the Titan-class warship still waiting above the planet like a silent god. The chamber lights flickered as the warship responded. It turned slightly, just enough to remind them it was listening. The sensors around the building picked up a power surge, but there was no threat. Just presence. That was enough. Council Leader Dawn exhaled. We will bring your message to vote. Markle bowed his head. We await your answer. But know this, Earth does not wait forever. With that, he turned and walked back to the pod. The council sat in silence as the doors closed behind him. Above them, the Titan still hung in space, watching, waiting. The vote that shook the council. The chamber was in chaos. As soon as the human envoy left, voices rose, overlapping, shouting over each other in a dozen different languages. Some shouted for immediate alliance. Others demanded the Titan-class warship be ordered to leave. A few were too stunned to speak. Council Leader Dawn raised his staff and slammed it down once. A wave of silence followed. This is not the time for panic, he said firmly. We must vote. But before that, we must understand. Who are these humans? What are they capable of? And what would it mean if we ignore their presence? Ambassador Lyra stood up. We have their message. That ship above us is no bluff. I say we open the records and study everything we've dismissed as legend. The lights dimmed as the central archive spun to life. Dozens of reports, myths, and hidden files appeared in the air. Each one was marked, classified, and verified human activity. They began to read. There were reports from fringe explorers, ships that vanished after encountering dark ships with no transponders. Survivors from long-lost stations spoke of silent rescuers who never asked for reward. One pirate captain swore a shadow vessel saved his crew from a black hole and disappeared without a trace, and then, one file from 200 years ago. A colony on the edge of council space had been under attack from a hostile species. The distress signal was never answered by the Union. But something else arrived. A single unknown vessel. Black. Silent. Within 2 hours, the attackers were wiped out. The ship vanished. The survivors told stories of machines that moved like smoke. And fire that never missed. They've been here, Ambassador Lyra whispered. 4 years. General Va growled. Spies. Or guardians, someone else said. Leader Dawn leaned forward. The Titan-class warship is clearly not a threat unless provoked. But if we choose poorly now, we may be remembered as the fools who challenged a sleeping dragon. He activated the vote crystal at the center of the room. One by one, the representatives placed their hands on their own panels. The options were simple: sat smiley A. Accept humanity into the Galactic Union. B. Reject their request and demand they leave. C. Delay the decision and gather more data. The votes tallied quickly. First came the smaller worlds, mostly frightened but wise. They chose A. Then came the militarized systems, those proud of their fleets. Most chose a C. Then the larger, ancient species cast their vote. I. In the end, the result glowed across the chamber wall: accept, 59%; reject, 6%; delay, 35%. It was decided the Council would accept humanity's presence, but cautiously. A delegation would be sent to the Titan-class warship. Just as the decision was sealed, a deep hum shook the tower above. The Titan ship shifted. It had heard them. Then, for the first time since it arrived, the warship sent a signal. It was a simple beacon. Not a threat. Not a command, just two words pulsing through every communication line in the system: we are listening. ***. The delegation boards the Titan. The Council's shuttle approached the Titan-class warship slowly. No one spoke. From the cockpit window, the alien diplomats stared in awe. The ship didn't just look large, it looked ancient, powerful, and alive. Its dark surface shimmered like a vast ocean under starlight. Every curve, every plate seemed placed with exact purpose. It wasn't just built for war. It was built for fear. Inside the shuttle were 5 representatives: Lyra from the Dori, Var from the Yari, and 3 others from key systems. Each chosen for their experience. Each carrying both hope and quiet fear. The shuttle sent out its approach signal. The Titan didn't respond. Then, with a deep vibration felt even through space, a section of the massive hull opened. No visible weapons. No security fields. Just a wide corridor glowing with soft, blue light. "We're being invited," Lyra whispered. The pilot nodded and guided the shuttle in. As they entered, the scale of the warship overwhelmed them. The interior hangar alone could hold entire cities. Yet there were no guards, no visible machines, no signs of life. Just silence. And a long path led ahead of them. Once landed, the delegation stepped out. Their boots echoed softly on the smooth, black floor. "This place is calm," one of the delegates said. "Too calm." Va kept his hand near his pulse blade. "I don't like it." They walked in silence, guided only by the changing lights that gently lit their path. Finally, they reached a wide chamber. In its center stood a tall figure, Markle, the same human who had first stepped onto the Council platform, but this time, he was not alone. 10 others stood behind him. Some wore armor, others long coats. Their faces showed many different heritages: light and dark skin, sharp and round features, male and female. But they all shared the same posture: strong, watchful, calm. Markle stepped forward. "Welcome to the Titan Soul's judgment. You have been received with respect." Lyra gave a small bow. "We thank you. The Council has voted. Earth is accepted as a recognized power. You may choose to join the Union or remain independent with a diplomatic seat." Markle didn't react. "We expected nothing less. Still, your decision is wise." Va stepped forward. "Why this ship? Why show us this now? If your people want peace, why send something like this?" Markle looked directly at him. "Because the galaxy respects strength. We learned that from watching all of you. Your peace is built on deterrence. On who has the biggest fleet, the sharpest weapon. We simply made sure ours is bigger." The group behind him remained still, but there was no doubt each was dangerous. Warriors, scholars, commanders. Not here to threaten. Just to be seen. Markle continued. "This ship represents more than firepower. It is a message. Earth does not conquer. But Earth does not run. If you deal with us, you deal with all of us." One of the delegates asked, "And if someone chooses to test that?" Markle's voice grew cold. "Then we remind them why Earth was called a death world." A soft pulse ran through the floor, the walls around them shimmered. Slowly, holographic panels lit up, showing simulations of the ship's power. Its weapons. Its defenses. Its AI. The simulations showed it surviving solar flares, absorbing Kinetic bombardments and launching coordinated strikes across light years. This was no warship. It was a civilization's final answer to extinction. Lyra stepped back. I understand now. You didn't build this to scare us. You built this because you never trusted the stars to be kind. Markle nodded once. Exactly. The delegates stood in silence, the full weight of humanity's message now clear. Earth hadn't come to beg for a seat at the table. Earth had built its own table. Whispers across the stars. The council delegates returned to Sereth carrying more than a diplomatic message. They carried a warning wrapped in awe. Across the galaxy, rumors spread faster than light. On trade stations, workers paused to watch replays of the Titan-class warship drifting like a god above the capital. On mining colonies, holograms of the human emissary's speech were passed from hand to hand. On military fleets, admirals watched the simulations shared by the delegation and didn't sleep that night. Every system had the same question: if humanity built that, what else are they hiding? Some species welcomed the humans with cautious respect. They saw strength and history in their arrival. They believed that Earth could bring balance to the Union, a fresh power not yet twisted by galactic politics, but others were not so calm. In the shadowed corners of the galaxy, hidden powers stirred. The core Dominion, a powerful military empire in the outer spiral arm, saw humanity not as allies, but as rivals. They had ruled nearby sectors for centuries, crushing rebellions and expanding through fear. The arrival of the Titan-class warship disrupted that balance. In their war room, Commander Talvek of the Dominion snarled, "They appear out of nowhere. They bring a ship that could destroy fleets. And the Union bows to them. We will not." Beside him, his advisor whispered, "They haven't attacked anyone." "That's the problem," Talvek growled. "They don't need to." He slammed his fist onto the control console. "Begin preparations. We will test the humans ourselves." Elsewhere, on neutral ground, an ancient race known as the Valari gathered their elders. They spoke only through thought threads, their glowing minds weaving silent messages. "The humans are not just a new power," one thought said. "They are a turning point." The Valari believed in balance. Too much power in any one species often led to war. And now, a single Terran ship had tipped the scales. Back on the Titan, Markle stood alone on a viewing platform. The planet Sereth glowed below. Around the ship, small drones kept their silent orbit, recording, watching, and ensuring no one approached too closely. One of the officers walked in. "Sir, the first wave of messages has been decoded. Some are welcoming. Others aggressive." Markle didn't turn. As expected. "Shall we prepare a defensive stance?" "No," he said calmly. "Let them speak. Let them shout. We will remain silent." The officer hesitated. "And when the shouting turns into fire?" Markle finally turned. His eyes were calm, but cold. "Then we remind them. Earth does not fire first. But we never fire twice." The words weren't a threat, they were a promise. Meanwhile, on the political floors of Sereth, the council debated again. Some demanded the Titan leave orbit. Others pushed for closer ties with Earth, even trade agreements. Leader Dawn watched it all unfold. The galaxy was splitting, those who feared Earth and those who wanted to stand beside it, but in his heart, he knew something deeper. This wasn't about war or peace. This was about change. Humanity had arrived not just with strength, but with purpose. They had not asked for approval. They had simply shown what they were, and the galaxy could never forget it. The test of fire. The core Dominion acted faster than anyone expected. 3 days after the Council confirmed diplomatic recognition of Earth, a fleet of 10 core warships entered neutral space. They claimed it was a training operation. But everyone knew better. Their destination was clear, the Titan-class warship hovering above Sereth. The Council scrambled. Emergency meetings were called. Messages were sent to the Dominion demanding an explanation. But Commander Talvek had already made his move. He didn't ask for permission. He wanted a reaction. On the bridge of his lead ship, Talvek grinned as he watched the silent Terran ship grow larger on his display. "Let's see if the humans are as strong as they pretend to be." Behind him, his officers looked nervous. "Sir, we are in visual range." "Broadcast to them," Talvek ordered. "Let's wake the giant." A message was sent across the void. Human vessel, identify your purpose. You are surrounded by core Dominion warships. You have 60 seconds to power down your systems and prepare for boarding. The message echoed through space. The Titan-class warship made no move. No lights changed. No response. 30 seconds passed. Talvek chuckled. Maybe their machine is already scared. At second 59, the Titan's lights blinked once, and then every core ship lost power. The entire fleet, engines, shields, weapons, life support, all went dead. They drifted like rocks in space. Inside Talvek's ship, alarm screamed. We've been locked out. Controls are frozen. He jumped to his feet. What happened? A single signal came through on every screen. This is Earth's Titan class vessel. Soul's judgment. You threaten peace. You have been neutralized. You are alive only because we allow it. On Sereth, the Council watched the live transmission in stunned silence. Within seconds, backup systems on the core ships flickered on, barely enough to restore control. A new signal came through, addressed to Talvek himself. Return home. Tell your people this was your one chance. Talvek sat in his chair, breathing hard, staring at the words. For the first time in his life, he felt something he had never known before, fear. He ordered his fleet to retreat. No one questioned him. On the Titan's bridge, Markle stood calmly beside his officers. Status. Dominion ships are retreating. No casualties. Power restored under full control. Markle nodded. As it should be. No fire. No war. Just truth. Back on Sereth, the Council erupted into debate again. But this time, many spoke with respect and even admiration. Ambassador Lyra stood and faced the assembly. You all saw what happened. The humans didn't destroy them. They could have. But they didn't. That restraint is power. Council leader Dawn looked at her. And what do you suggest? She smiled. We don't just accept them. We stand with them. Across the stars, thousands of systems watched the replay. They saw the core Dominion, once feared, humiliated without a shot fired. They saw humanity's true strength, restraint backed by overwhelming force, and they understood the new truth of the galaxy. Earth had arrived. Not to conquer, but to lead. The message to the galaxy 1 week after the core Dominion's failed stunt. The galaxy had changed, not by war, not by conquest, but by a single human ship that refused to bend. On the Council world of Sereth, a rare event was taking place, a broadcast sent not just to Council members, but to every known system, species, and station. It wasn't mandatory. But nobody dared to miss it. The massive Titan-class warship, Soul's Judgment, still hung above the capital, silent and unmoved. Below it, at the Council's main hall, stood Markle, dressed not in armor, but in a simple black uniform bearing a symbol unfamiliar to most. A circle. A star. And a single upward-pointing spear. He stood behind a clear podium. No weapons. No threats, just words. The broadcast began. People of the galaxy, Markle said, his voice steady and calm. A week ago, the Terran Union made its first official appearance. We did not come with fleets behind us. We did not come with demands. We came with presence. He paused. Your records speak of us as myths. As shadows in the dark. As rumors. From forgotten worlds. But we are real. And we are no longer hiding. Across the stars, beings watched in silence, admirals, workers, leaders, even children. We have survived a world that tried to break us every single day. Our oceans drowned us. Our mountains buried us. Our storms tore our cities apart. But we endured. Not by being the strongest, but by standing back up every time we fell. The camera panned upward briefly, showing the massive Titan above, silent, watching. That ship above you is not a threat. It is a promise. Markle's eyes locked onto the camera. We promise that Earth does not seek to rule you. We do not come for your land, your people, or your resources. But if we are attacked, if our people are harmed, then that ship becomes the last thing your enemies ever see. He paused again. And yet, if you call for help, if you seek aid, if you extend your hand, then that ship will carry our doctors, our builders, our protectors. Because humans don't just make war. We survive. And we help others survive too. He took a breath and finished, Earth stands ready. The Terran Union watches. And Sol's judgment is only the first. The screen went dark. Across the galaxy, the effect was immediate. The core Dominion cancelled military operations and went silent. The Volari sent a request to open direct diplomatic channels, and dozens of smaller species, those forgotten or left behind by the great powers, sent simple messages of one word: welcome. On Sereth, Council Leader Dawn watched the transmission and then turned to Ambassador Lyra. Do you believe him? He asked softly. Lyra nodded. Yes. Because only a species that has suffered truly understands mercy. Back aboard the Titan-class ship, Markle stood at the central view panel. The stars stretched before him like a sea of uncharted possibilities. A younger officer stepped beside him. Do you think they'll accept us, sir? Markle smiled faintly. They already have. The stars didn't change, but something in the galaxy did. For the first time in history, it stood still, not out of fear, but in recognition. Humanity had arrived, and now, nothing would ever be the same again. Asterisk.